Hey everyone, it's Arfan, and I am back with another expert guest interview for the Successful Lead Generating Coaches Show. And I'm super happy to have Joshua Thompson with me today. Joshua, how you doing today, man?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a wonderful. What's today? Oh man, I'm losing track and so
Yeah,
busy. What,
Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
going quick, man. When things are going well. It's a little warm in Texas, but hey, AC's working, so I
Yeah,
can't complain too much.
that's how. Yeah, I'm in Florida, so Central AC is on 24/7,
Nope,
365.
nope.
So, hey, I am super excited to have you on the show because this is what we're going to talk about today, everybody. Is going to be related to accounting and tax. Okay, so this is a topic that comes up a lot, and we're going to really be covering quite a bit. So Josh is a EA, which is an enroll agent, and he specializes in accounting and as a tax specialist. So we were talking before, and he was bringing up some things that I wasn't even aware of, or just not really top of mind. That I really feel that as online entrepreneurs, we need to have this be top of mind because what ends up happening is we go through the entire year, we're doing our thing, we're making sales, we're showing up, we're just pushing hard, and then tax comes around and we start getting grays in our beard or our hair starts falling out because we're a little bit like, oh man, I wasn't thinking about any of this all year long. And now it's
Yep.
coming up all of a sudden, especially when you're crushing it. Okay. When you get first started, you're not crushing it. And it comes up, you're like, when you're crushing it, you're just crushing it, you're just thinking about it. And then it comes up and you're like, oh, okay, hold on a minute. I got to really consider my taxes. So
Yeah.
Josh and I are going to talk about a few things today. We're really going to talk about what taxes you're subject to as an online business owner, as an entrepreneur. What really do you have to be mindful of? How to really report your income, or how the reporting really works when you are charging and you are collecting payment from PayPal, from Square, from Stripe, some of the online payment processing things that we so commonly use in the space, and also lastly, clearing up the confusion about should you be an LLC or should you do an S corp, right? And
Yes.
we were having a little bit of conversation before, and Josh was like, "Hey, that could be a whole episode by itself." So
Yeah.
we're gonna touch on that. We'll kind of keep it a little bit short because we just want to give you the straight facts, and then we'll give you an opportunity to connect with Josh. So hope you guys are excited for it today as I am. Josh, you excited, man? You ready?
Oh man, I'm ready. I'm ready. Hey, we said tax and accounting. We're talking about tax and accounting. Trust me, this is not going to be a boring episode. You're going to get something out of this that you're going to take away from it. I promise you, you will learn at least one new thing today, and that's probably one of the first and last things we're going to be talking about. You're probably going to get two there, but just stay tuned. Some good stuff coming.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, let's start at the basics, man. Let's just give us stuff an introduction. Let us know like how you really got into this work and a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, how much time we got? No, but definitely. So for me, after I got in the military, I was in the Marine Corps for a while. I got out, ended up going to school. While I was at school, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. And, I was working at a vet hospital. Turned out, some of these medicines I can't even pronounce, so I need to pivot. I ended up volunteering for an IRS program called VITA, and it's where we kind of do tax preparation for elderly or low income individual. And it was probably something I'll never hear again, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought tax was great, something we all need to worry about and we're always going to continue doing. So from
Mm.
there, I was like, okay, listen, I'm pivoting. I'm going accounting route, tax route. I ended up working at a CPA firm, got my accounting degree, ended up becoming an enrolled agent, enjoyed that firm so much. I ended up, yes, I enjoyed it, but I ended up leaving and started my own firm. I had some life things
There you
going
go.
on where for me it was either now or never. My wife was pregnant. We were in Southern California. Things were expensive. It was either I do this now and take this leap, or this is probably not going to happen for another decade or so. So
Mm.
started the firm, and back in about 2020 is when I went off on my own. Started the firm. I enjoyed it, grew it, was great. Met someone along the way. JT, he's a CPA buddy of mine, and we decided recently actually to just kind of combine firms. So we
Oh,
combined
nice.
firms, and now the firm is P&T Advisors, and there's three partners in it. We all are love working with our clients and helping them out throughout the year. We try not to do just say, hey, tax prep one and done. We try and see you and talk with you throughout the year because let's be honest, guys, taxes are every day. They're not just
Yeah.
January to April 15th.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So we were talking, right? We're gonna really get right into this, and
Yeah.
where as an online business owner, as depending on how you operate, if you're a local brick and mortar, you in different states, you get subject to different type of taxes. And you brought up a term that a lot of people aren't familiar with. It's called Nexus, Nexus. So can you just break that down for us? What exactly is Nexus, and why should online business owners be concerned about it?
Oh man, Nexus is extremely important, especially when South Dakota passed a court case. I think it was 2018, 2019, give or take. Basically, the fancy thing is what Nexus is, to summarize it in layman terms, it's basically saying at this point is when you have to pay taxes in this state. And let me give an
Mm,
example. So let's say I'm here, I live in Texas. I perform services, or I sell product in, or ship product to someone in California. Depending on how much I send there or how much work I do in that state, even though I live here in Texas, I could now be subject to and have what's called is Nexus. And each state's a little bit different on how they
mm,
determine when you have Nexus in that state. And when you have Nexus in that state is now when you have to determine, okay, am I subject to the income tax? And if you have Nexus, the answer is going to be yes. Am I subject to the sales tax? If you have Nexus, it's going to be yes. And if that's the case, then you now need to start putting some money aside, because you now may have to be paying taxes in California, even though you live in Texas. And on top
mm.
of that, you may have to be also be paying sales tax and collecting that from the seller and paying that in California if you live in Texas. So it's extremely important, because you need to know what state, if you're working in multiple states, what states you're now subject to that specific state's tax rules and regulations.
Gotcha. So for someone that's starting off new, or even those who have been or doing quite a bit of volume with their program offers, or even if they're selling an e-commerce brand, how can they determine which states they have Nexus in, and therefore they gotta really just pay taxes?
Yeah. So, and it comes down to it, whether I give two recommendations. One is online site, actually very good if you're selling products and you're going cross state lines, you're selling products, sometimes courses as well, because some states, California may be one of those states that love to tax you, even if you're selling a digital product inside that state. And one product I would say I recommend is TaxGuard and Avalar, the two companies. They're really good when it comes down to determining if you're selling stuff cross state lines, if you're subject to it. But also talk to a tax professional. A tax professional is
Hmm.
great as well. A lot of times, an hour call with a tax professional saying you're in these states and you have these many sales in it. Tell me if I have Nexus in that state. Do I need to start worrying about paying taxes in that state? And I would say that's probably the two top things I recommend going after. I think a tax professional would be the best choice. And then, as you know, and you're in on a good situation, you have a good system going, maybe then look at TaxStar Avalar to kind of pick up where the tax professional left off and take it from there. If you feel comfortable with it.
Gotcha. And are there any mistakes you normally see that maybe online business owners are making when it comes to Nexus taxes?
Yeah, a lot of people don't have no idea they're subject to Nexus, or subject to taxes
Mm,
in that state. Even if you have like a rental property in that state, you have Nexus and you are subject to taxes in that state. I would say one thing that you guys may want to look into, obviously, look into the word Nexus, look into your state Nexus, as well as I think it's the multi-state tax. I want to say commissioner or commission, and what they are, they're a group, an organization that tries to unify on what state, when you have Nexus in specific states. Now, not all states have joined this, so each state's a
mm,
little bit different. But for the ones that have, they have more of a uniform agreement of, okay, you hit this threshold, whether it be the number of sales, whether it be the dollar amount in sales, whether it
mm.
be people on the ground, when you have Nexus, and then you're subject to that state taxes.
All right, that's good. That's good. Awesome. So yeah, if you guys are listening, take that, rewind, take the notes down, check that out, see if you're subject to it. It's better to always have the knowledge of it and not need it, versus need it and not have the knowledge of it. So if you check it out and you don't, you're not someone who has to or is subject to Nexus in any kind of state. But I know a lot of you guys are doing volume across the entire US, sometimes internationally, things like that. And it can get pretty cloudy, especially when you're just in it, you're just crushing it, you're just doing your thing.
Yeah.
You're helping people out. That's what a lot of our coaches, a lot of our clients do. They're just helping people out. They're giving a service and an offer that's changing lives. And we're focused so much on that we can often just not even think about these things. So that's awesome. Rewind, guys, check that out. And for those of us who are, if you are processing, because again, we're serving across the US, the world, so most likely there's a lot of you that are using PayPal. You are maybe using Square, you're using Stripe. There's a few others out there, a bunch of others. This it doesn't matter which one. Can you explain to us like the how that really works, like the 1099K, and really why it's crucial for entrepreneurs who use those payment processors to really know and have an understanding of this?
Yeah, so the 1099K, that's one that some of you may have heard about is changing. I mean, they've been pushing back the change for years. Like I think it's supposed to initially take effect, I think in 2022. It's 2024, and they just now finally say, okay, now we want to actually do it. They may push it back. We'll see. I think they really want to do it this time. But really, at the end of the day, if you receive payment and you're a business or have a business account, you receive payment from Venmo, PayPal, Stripe, Square, any of those payment processors, what they're going to start doing is issuing a 1099K. Now, 1099K is not new, but the threshold of when they start reporting it is changing and going to be new. It used to be, hey, you do 200 transactions or you do $20,000 in sales, then we'll give you a 1099K. Now they're changing that to, hey, you do $5,000 or more flat, boom, you're getting 1099K. And the issue that happens there is sometimes income, you'll receive two different forms for the same amount of income. And I'll give an example. So let's say Arfan hired me and I did some work for him and he paid me $5,000, right? So he pays me $5,000. Since I'm over what's called the 1099K threshold now, he paid me $5,000. He's gonna have my payment processor who I pulled it through, whether it's Stripe, is going to give me a 1099K. So now I have a 1099K form. This is a form of IRS or that will be sent to the IRS and you, and you'll get it around January 1st to the 31st of every year. So now I received a 1099K. But since I did work for Arfan, he has to issue me a 1099 NEC because he paid me over $600. That threshold is going up to 1,000, but he paid me over $600, right? So he gives me a 1099 NEC. So now I have a 1099 NEC for 5,000. I have a 1099K for 5,000. It looks like I made $10,000, but in reality, I only made 5,000. It just came from the way it's getting reported is now almost twice. So it's going to create a little issues with the IRS and your reporting. I would say this is where it's crucial to have a really good bookkeeper and a really good accountant that you're working with to ensure all income is being tracked properly, not just your net, but also the fees included. Because you realize if you pull from Stripe, you get a $300 payment. They're only going to give you $290. You need to keep track of that $10 fee.
Yes.
And if you don't, there's some issues when you get ready to file your tax return. I won't get too much into that. I know we only have so much time. But long story short, this is where accounting and bookkeeping is crucial because you don't want that income to be double counted for one. And when you get ready to file your form, and depending on what the IRS rules and says, we may have to start putting disclosure in there saying, "Hey IRS, I know you got one for 5,000 for the 1099K, one for 5,000 for the 1099 NEC. It's really only 5,000 in total. Please correct your system and not make it $10,000." And then you start getting notices. So you need to be very careful when you start getting those forms January 1st through the 31st of each year.
Gotcha. That's the question I was going to ask. We answered that. I was going to say, well, would they know that, hey, it's just one? But I guess if they're getting two different forms, their system's not really clarifying, hey, this is just one thing. And you get a notice that, you probably didn't file correctly or there's a discrepancy with the income report or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I would say with IRS, never give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So many mistakes have been made and can be made when it comes down to it. But yeah, I wish it would be. Their new commissioner is actually really great. He's making some good changes. I won't get too much into that, but hopefully in the future it would be something that they could do, or before they enact this, something they could take care of.
Gotcha. All right. So when it comes to filing the income, especially when you're getting it from these digital platforms, getting it from multiple sources, how can the business owners really just stay compliant when it comes to reporting income from multiple payment processors?
Yeah. The best thing is, like I said, like the bookkeeper. That's going to be the best thing, keeping track of everything, because the actual amount you receive plus fees and whatnot, and you report it on your tax return. As long as your books and records are accurate, and financial statements are good, and your report on
Mhm.
your tax return good. At the end of the day, if the IRS does come back and say anything to you, you will check all your boxes. You're okay. You have your records. You're going to win the battle if something happens.
Gotcha. Yeah, good bookkeeping for sure.
Yes.
That's something that's helped us a lot to just gain so much awareness of what's going on and like, oh,
Yeah.
take advantage of some things that we weren't even aware of. So love that. Awesome. So I know a lot of people, you mentioned it, a lot of people come to you and they ask you about this particular topic. I talked about it at the beginning of it here. I
Mhm.
get asked a lot from friends and family who know I'm in
Yeah.
business. Everyone, so it comes up often, right? And is the age old. And we say age old because I've gotten it a few dozen times in my career, and I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't even deal with taxes, but is so when you're new or a growing business, you can struggle with choosing between an LLC, a limited liability company, and an S corp. I have no idea what S stands for, but it's S corp. So could you break down the main differences between those two structures? They're like a nutshell. I know we could take hours
Yeah.
talking about it. Just in a quick nutshell, the difference between LLC and S corp.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm more than happy to talk a little bit about it. Listen, I'll talk tax all day, so you got to interrupt me sometimes, man. But LLC S corporation. So at the end of the day, and first and foremost, I do a lot with taxes. I don't give legal advice. This is not legal advice. It's just general information for you guys to use and speak with your advisor on. But an LLC at the end of the day, it's a limited liability company. You set it up at your state level. So, in all honesty, the eyes of
Mm,
the IRS, they do not care what an LLC is. They say, hey, yes, it's great. You have an LLC, but tell me how you want to be taxed. You have four options. You tell me which one you want, or I'm going to decide for you. Now,
mm,
if you're by yourself, you're going to be a single member LLC, which is called a disregarded entity in the eyes of the IRS, meaning it's just all going to go on your Schedule C of your personal tax return. Now, you have the option to be a partnership. If you have two or more people in there, it's going to automatically go to a partnership, or you can elect to be a partnership. That's going to be taxed. You're going to get a K1, and it's going to flow through you to your personal tax return. And
mm,
also, you could decide to be a C corporation. Nobody wants to do that unless you're, doing multi-million dollars because the whole double taxation issue. There are some benefits to C corporation though, and then there's an S corporation to be decided to be. So which will also go on a K1 to your personal tax return. So as an LLC, you need to tell the IRS which one of these you want to be taxed as. And like I said,
mm.
if you don't decide, they're going to either put you as a single member LLC or a partnership automatically, right? Um,
Okay.
Now, like I said, it's more so the state level, entity level, that or the state level that cares about your LLC status. Now, the S corporation. A lot of times, it comes from you deciding to set up your LLC and then deciding I'm going to be an S corporation, right?
Mm,
Now, you can set up your business and automatically say, I'm going S corporation status from day one. I don't want an LLC. I want an S corporation. You could do that. But you lose the flexibility to decide on which other ones you want. And in the future, sometimes you could change from a S corporation to a S corporation or a single member liability or C corporation to a single member LLC. But for the most part, a lot of times you don't want to do that. But with an LLC, you have that flexibility. With an S
mm.
corporation, a lot of times you're kind of just set in stone as that S corporation. Now, there's a lot of tax benefits
Gotcha.
with that. I won't get too much into the benefits of S corporation unless we got time for it. But that's kind of the big difference between the LLC S corporation that a lot of people don't talk about. LLC gives you the flexibility. S corporation is one of the decisions you can make from that flexibility or from day one setting up the business.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you say would be, and we don't gotta do a whole exhaustive list, maybe like a 3 to 4,
Yeah.
the pros and cons of each, if you were to maybe not partnership in the C Corp, because I don't think anyone,
Yeah.
mostly just LLC or the S Corp status. So like, yeah, what are like the pros and cons of like each of those structures and
Yeah.
so that way, those who listen and they can really kind of get some thoughts and ideas to help them
Mhm.
make a better decision on what's going to be right for their business.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. Great question. So at the end of the day, let's start with LLC, right? So LLC, a lot of the reason a lot of people go that route is you get the limited liability. As long as you treat that LLC correctly, you're not commingling funds, you're not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing. You have your books and records. If you ever get sued, you need to have these certain things. Talk to your attorney. Not my advice. Just like I said, general information. But that's kind of what you need as an LLC when you get started. But for the most part, LLCs are pretty simple, right?
Mm,
Like I said, you're probably going to be that single member LLC, disregard entity in the eyes of the IRS. You don't need to have a separate tax return. You don't need to do annual meeting minutes, anything like that. You don't need to have payroll. Sometimes you get away with doing bookkeeping yourself as long as you know what you're doing, taking care of things, but you have
mm,
less expenses. You have less things you have to do on an annual basis, at least getting taken care of. All right. Now, S corporation. The pros is that it could save you money on taxes, and the way they do that is you split your income, and you definitely want
mm,
to talk about tax providers because this is a whole nother episode as well. But you split your income when you have an S corporation. Part of it's going to be your W-2 that you're going to take. The other part's going to be a K-1 or a distribution that you get, right? So you get to split it. Now, why that's important is because that W-2, yes, it's subject to Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, unemployment taxes, income taxes, all the other
mm,
stuff that gets added on there. But that distribution is only subject to income tax. And it
mm.
saves you on those other three. And that's why a lot of people like it. Now, so people are like, hey, why don't I just put all my money in that one bucket? Why do I want a W-2? That's a whole nother episode that I was talking about that we need to discuss and go
Yeah.
over into. So I won't go too much into that. But that's what it saves you on taxes. The S corporation can save you on taxes. The other benefit of an S corporation is sometimes it looks a little bit better. You don't report it all in your personal tax return on a Schedule C. You get that
Mhm.
K-1. The downside of the S corporation, though, that a lot of people don't talk about, is now it's highly, highly recommended you have a bookkeeper. That's an additional expense per month. You have to do
Mm,
a tax return annually. That's another item that you need to take care of. Another expense. Annual meeting minutes. Of course, you have your Secretary of State filings for most states you need to take care of. There's other requirements that you have to make sure you're getting done and thinking about and taking care of if you go the S corporation route.
gotcha. So it'll be more. So at at what point does it really make sense for someone to switch from an LLC to an S corp?
Yeah, and that's a great question. We get that a lot. And it depends on their business. A lot of times, our rule of thumb, my rule of thumb, is when I see a business with roughly $80,000 net income. That's after all your expenses, about
Mhm.
$80,000. Is when my mind now as a tax buyer is saying, okay, the wheels are turning. We're $80,000. Let's start considering that S corporation. Let's consider making that election to become an S corporation. Great thing about an
Mm,
LLC, you could be an LLC for 5, 10, 15 years, start making $1 million and more money and switch over to an S corporation in future years. But that's usually when my mind is starting looking at it, because that's when the additional cost of that S corporation starts to balance out with the benefit. And as you just make more money, it just tilts more in the benefit side of things.
gotcha. And is
Usually,
it
I do
true?
not recommend from day one set up an S corporation. That's typically what I recommend. But like I said, to our clients that we work with and know their situation more.
Gotcha. And just to clarify, when you would need a W-2, which basically is you kind of have to have like an employee in the business. So what a business owner basically like they'd be the employee, right? Like so you don't need to have a whole full-fledged team to do an S corp. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. You don't. It's just now as a business owner, because as an S corporation, you are an employee and an employer because you own the business, and you need to, as an employee, give yourself a W-2, a salary, a payroll, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what it is. But good, great question. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey man, this has been extremely enlightening as far as
Yeah.
taxes can be something where I know when I went to college and we got to the taxes and learning about accounting and all that stuff. I need to get new glasses because my prescription went higher because I was losing eyesight.
I
So
like it.
it's something that we can take a lot of talk about, right? So when someone's trying to wrap their head around it, what I wanted to talk to Josh about today was some of the important first steps you want to go into this, right? There's many layers. Josh mentioned that you do need to talk to someone that is a tax specialist like Joshua. So with that being the case, I want to turn it over to you to give everyone a chance to like how could we actually if someone has a question or just want to get in contact or just say, hey, you know what, I want to save this for save this in my pocket as a resource in their time. How can they get in contact with you? What's the best way to find you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for asking. So we were actually putting together some information for your audience and anyone that's listening to this that wants some information. So we're actually putting that together right now. Um, if you are interested in that, you want some of that information, I'll give you my personal information. I'll give you my personal cell phone number. It goes direct to my cell phone. Just shoot me over your first name, last name, email, and we'll send it over to you. I'll also give Arfan my Calendly link, so that way, if you guys want to book a get to know us call where we sit down for 15 minutes, kind of talk a little bit more if it'd be a good fit, I'll give them that so it's in the show notes as well for you guys to do that.
Awesome.
But my personal number, if you guys want, is 805 364 0908. We make ourselves extremely available for our clients. We're big on communication. That's our number one thing. But like I said, 805 364 0908. Do not spam me. Don't add me to any list or anything like that. But if you want to reach out, and we'll definitely send you over that information to get you added.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks for that, man. So you guys have it. When Josh, when you finish with that resource, shoot me the link and I'll also add that to the show notes as well for everyone so they can just sign up for that. But you guys have a great resource. You know, we covered quite a bit here today. So Joshua, thank you again for your expertise, your talent, for what you've done. And I forgot to even mention it, but thank you for your service as well. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely forgot to mention that. I don't want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. I really appreciate that. It takes a special individual to commit their life and to serve the country. So we thank you for that. We honor you for that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on today, man. It was definitely a pleasure to sit down, speaking with you, knowing you a little bit more, and kind of helping out with the audience. So thank you as well for having me on.
Awesome. Well, there you go, everyone. That is it for today with my guest expert, Joshua Thompson. And I hope you guys have enjoyed that. If you have, drop a comment down in the below so we can kind of get an idea of what your takeaways were. Don't forget to get a hold of Joshua if you need to learn a little bit more. If you have some questions, you want to do a consult, whatever the case may be, he's open to that. He gave you his personal cell phone number. Now many people do that. As a matter of fact, no one really does that in the public internet. So hopefully you don't get a whole bunch of spam and things like that. But other than that, everyone, thank you all so much, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Have a great one. Bye bye.